Here in this short video, we're going to discuss adding and subtracting rational expressions. Okay, the main concepts for adding, subtracting rational expressions, which is just adding and subtracting fractions where, the fractions contain variables, are exactly the same as the main concepts for adding and subtracting fractions. If you had to do, for example, if you had to do 1/2 plus 2/3, you would want to find the least common denominator. So one way to do that is to just multiply the denominators. It may not give you the least common denominator, but that's one way to do it. If you want the least common denominator, you're going to include each individual factor only once. But in this case, it's 2 times 3, or 6. So you would change 1/2. You want to multiply it by a fraction that'll give you 6, so 3 over 3. And then you want to take 2/3 and multiply that by 2 over 2. And now we have 3 over 6 plus 4 over 6. And now we can add those. You need common denominators in order to add. And that would be 7 over 6. Okay, so let's see over here. We need to get a common denominator. Alright, so 4 has to be part of it. X. Now 5 does not have any factors. Like 4 has factors of 2. 5 does not have any factors of 2, so we actually have to include that whole 5 and then that y. So it's actually 20xy. That's the least common denominator. So now write down the first fraction. Put a fraction bar. Now we need to multiply by a fraction that's equivalent to 1. Now what are we missing? We're missing the 5y. So we go up here and multiply by 5y in our numerator as well. Now write down the second fraction that was given. Multiply it by a factor of 1. So we need to get 20xy. So in order to get 20xy, by multiplying by 5y, we have to multiply by 4x. So go up to the top and multiply by 4x. Now a thing to note here is that these two fractions, these are equivalent to 1. So we're actually not changing this at all. Alright, now, so this was equal as well. So now our denominators are going to be 20xy. And our other denominator will also be 20xy. So we have common denominators, which we can then combine the numerators. So in our first numerator, we're doing 3 times 5y. So 15y. And the second one, we're doing 2 times 4x. So that's going to be 8x. So 15y plus 8x. Now we can add those numerators. So back over here, see this 3 plus 4 is what gave us 7. I didn't write out 3 plus 4, but that's how we got the 7 over 20xy. And we can't factor that numerator anymore. So that's our final answer. Okay, let's do a subtraction problem. Now when you see something like this, though, subtract 3 over x squared plus 5x plus 6 minus 2 over x squared plus 2x minus 3. The first thing you want to do is you want to factor those denominators completely. So here we're going to get x plus 3 times x plus 2. We're trying to find two numbers whose product is 6 and whose sum is 5. That's 3 and 2. That's how we get that. Now go over here. And now x squared plus 2x minus 3. Two numbers whose product is negative 3 and sum is positive 2. So plus 3 and minus 1. So x plus 3 and x minus 1. Now notice our denominators are actually products of binomials. So when you're determining your least common denominator, you just go across and you say, okay, well, I need an x plus 3. Right? I need an x plus 2. Now, I already have an x plus 3, so I don't need it again, but I need an x minus 1. Okay, really, in order to be the least common denominator, each individual factor only needs to be counted once. So our least common denominator is x plus 3, x plus 2, x minus 1. Alright, now, try to keep that in there, okay? Now we're going to write down the first fraction. And then we say, all right, well, what are we missing from that denominator? We're missing the x minus 1. So we multiply it by x minus 1 over x minus 1. Now minus, write down the second fraction. And we say, okay, in order to get our LCD, what are we missing? We're missing the x plus 2. So multiply it by x plus 2 over x plus 2. Okay, now with these, I do not distribute. See, we're going to eventually be doing the 3 times x minus 1 and eventually be doing the 2 times x plus 2, but I do not distribute those yet. Now notice our denominator is going to be common now. X plus 3, x plus 2, x minus 1. Both of them contain that. So I'm going to write this as one fraction over that common denominator. Now, the numerator from the first fraction, this, right here, becomes 3 times x minus 1. Now, bring down the minus sign and put it in the numerator, minus. Now, write down this, 2 times x plus 2. And then simplify that numerator. So we have to distribute the 3 first here. So we get 3x minus 3. Now we're distributing a negative 2. So we get minus 2x minus 4 over our denominator. Always keep this denominator in factored form until the very end. And now group any like terms. 3x minus 2x is x. Negative 3 minus 4 is 7 over our common denominator. And you cannot factor that numerator at all, and you can't see if this simplifies anymore, which it won't simplify anymore because you can't cancel out any common factors between numerator and denominator. So here's our final answer.